you're listening or watching Radio Afinju. The time is 6 p.m.
Ẹ bá mi pè é o. Àfínjú. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfínjú. Rédíò. Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú. Lórí WhatsApp. Àfínjú. Instagram. Àfínjú. Facebook. Àfínjú. Lórí X. Àfínjú. Lórí YouTube. Àfínjú. Lórí TikTok. Àfínjú. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfínjú. Ẹ bá mi pè é o. Àfínjú. Rédíò. Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ 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 Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú.
Stay informed with news on Radio Afinju.
This is the world news on Radio Afinju.
First, a look at the highlights. Tinubu arrives Jos amid tight security. Omisore declares intention to run in 2026 governorship election. Malawi swears in Mutharika for second term as president. Good evening and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Pearl Durotoye. The news in detail. President Bola Tinubu has arrived in Jos, the Plateau State capital, amid tight security. Tinubu, who is in Jos to attend the burial ceremony of Lydia Yewada, mother of the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Nentawe Yewada, upon arrival, has moved to the church where the funeral service for the late chairman's mother is currently ongoing. It was gathered that heightened security measures were evident across the city of Jos as the Plateau State government had earlier announced temporary road closures in Jos and Bukuru metropolis to accommodate the presidential visit with alternative routes provided for motorists. Security personnel from various agencies, including the Nigerian Police Force, Nigerian Army, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and Federal Road Safety Corps, were deployed in significant numbers to secure major routes and the event venue. The measures are being implemented to ensure the safety of the president and facilitate a smooth visit. Ahead of the 2026 gubernatorial election, the former deputy governor of Osun State, Iyola Omisore, has announced his intention to contest the 2026 governorship election in Osun State under the platform of the All Progressives Congress. Omisore made the declaration in a post on his X handle, saying the formal announcement would take place on Tuesday, October 7, 2025, at the party's secretariat in Osogbo. He contested the 2014 Osun governorship election on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, but lost to the then incumbent governor, Rauf Aregbesola. Omisore, who later joined the APC, is expected to be among the frontline aspirants in the ruling party's race for the governorship ticket. To mark the World Teachers' Day, the Kwara State government has approved Monday, October 6th as a public holiday for teachers in the state. The approval was made known in a statement by Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak through the Commissioner for Education and Human Capital Development, Lawal Olongbebe in Ilorin. Olongbebe, who delivered the governor's message, paid glowing tribute to teachers' resilience and sacrifice. He also described them as critical stakeholders in advancing human progress and national development. The Nigeria Police Force has given clarifications to reports of a federal high court order directing it to maintain the status quo in the ongoing legal battle over the enforcement of tinted glass permits, saying that it has not been formally served with the court's directive yet. This clarification came after a human rights lawyer, Inibehe Efyong, shared on social media excerpts of the court order which appeared to restrain the police from enforcing the controversial tinted glass permit policy pending further hearing. Responding via the same platform, the Force Public Relations Officer, Benjamin Hundengen, pointed out number 8 of the same order, which denied some reliefs which were parts of a motion filed by the applicants, John Aikpokpo Martins, in the suit seeking to temporarily stop the Inspector General of Police and the Nigerian Police Force from implementing the revised tinted glass permit policy set to begin on October 6th. The release included a request for a temporary order to halt enforcement actions such as vehicle stops, arrests, or the collection of permit renewal fees via a private account pending the determination of the substantive motion. Reacting to the ruling, lead counsel for the applicant, Kunle Edun, senior advocate of Nigeria, hailed the decision as a major step in upholding the rule of law and protecting the rights of citizens while the substantive issues are yet to be decided. Barely 24 hours after a traditional ruler, the Onidogun of Idogun in Ose Council of Ondo State, Moses Bakare, his wife, and their son Victor Bakare were assaulted by irate youths ahead of the New Yam Festival in the community. Another attempt to assassinate the traditional ruler of Igoba community in Akure North, Adinlewa Jan, occurred, and 10 suspects have been arrested. The State Police Commissioner, Adebowale Lawal, confirmed the attempted murder of the monarch, saying that a tactical team was deployed on receiving information of the attack, which led to the arrest of 10 suspects at the scene. It was gathered that the suspected killers, said to be wielding guns, knives, machetes, charms, and other dangerous weapons, stormed the community around 11:30 a.m. and unleashed terror on residents. Lawal confirmed that the suspects have confessed to their roles and would be charged to court upon conclusion of investigations, while efforts are ongoing to apprehend other fleeing members of the gang. In separate operations aimed at curbing fuel smuggling across the nation's borders, more than 100 jerrycans of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, have been intercepted by the operatives of the Nigeria Police Force Border Patrol Unit. The Force Public Relations Officer, Benjamin Hundengen, in a statement, said the first interception occurred along the Ilela-Sokoto Highway, where officers on stop and search duty discovered 80 jerrycans of petrol concealed in the vehicle. The driver, identified as Yasir Adamu, was arrested at the scene. Preliminary investigations revealed that the fuel was being illegally transported across the border into the Niger Republic. In a related development, operatives stationed in Katsina State recovered 35 jerrycans, each containing 25 liters of petrol, similarly intended for smuggling into Niger Republic, abandoned by suspects who fled on sighting the police patrol team. According to the statement, the police have launched a manhunt to apprehend the fleeing suspects and bring them to justice. The Nigeria Armed Forces has revealed that it arrested 16 officers for alleged indiscipline and breach of service regulations. According to a statement by Director of Defense Information, Tukur Gusau, the conduct of the officers were described as incompatible with military standards. The military said investigations showed that the grievances of the arrested officers were linked to repeated failure in promotion examinations and perceived career stagnation, explaining that some of the officers had been under jurisdiction for various offences and were either awaiting or undergoing trial. He noted that those indicted at the end of the investigation would face the military disciplinary process in line with established procedures, stressing that the military would not tolerate behaviors that undermine its integrity or threatens its constitutional role. Cases of disciplinary action are not new within the nation's military, as the armed forces have in recent years sanctioned personnel over mutiny, desertion and acts considered damaging to service discipline. On the foreign scene, following the defeat of the outgoing president Lazarus Chakwera, Malawi has sworn in Peter Mutharika for a second term as president of the Southern African nation. In his inaugural address, Mutharika, who took the oath of office in the afternoon in a stadium in the commercial city of Blantyre, packed with supporters as well as government officials and African heads of state, said his administration was inheriting a country in economic crisis. According to Mutharika, Malawi is facing acute food shortages, cost of living pressures and a lack of foreign exchange that has crippled businesses and led to persistent fuel shortages. He, however, vowed to root out government corruption and rebuild an injured economy. 85-year-old Mutharika secured more than 56% of votes last month, defeating the 70-year-old outgoing president Lazarus Chakwera, who took 33%, as voters rejected Chakwera after 5 years of worsening economic crisis in one of the world's poorest countries. The September 16th vote marked the fourth presidential contest between Mutharika and Chakwera. In Europe, French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu is planning a tax targeting individuals with annual incomes of over €250,000. According to reports, the move is aimed at winning leftist support for the 2026 budget, which the socialists called insufficient, without closing the door on further talks. It was reported that Lecornu plans two measures, each targeting taxpayers declaring more than €250,000 in income or €500,000 for a couple to raise an additional €3 billion in fiscal revenue next year. Lecornu last month became President Emmanuel Macron's fifth prime minister in 2 years after Parliament ejected Bayrou over his plans for a €44 billion budget squeeze next year. With Parliament divided into 3 blocks, none of which has a majority, Lecornu relies on rival parties to pass legislation and for his own survival as Prime Minister. In the Americas, the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has fired the Navy Chief of Staff John Harrison, an aide who had been key to the Trump administration's efforts to reshape the Pentagon. The Pentagon confirmed Harrison's departure in a statement which first reported his departure. Harrison, who was appointed in January, had been key to broad changes made to the Navy's policy and budgeting offices. Together with John Phelan, a Trump mega donor who was confirmed as Navy Secretary in March, Harrison had reportedly sought to limit the influence of the Navy under the Secretary, who typically has a key role in managing that military branch's budget. Harrison's firing comes days after a former naval officer who ran for Senate as a Republican last year, Hung Kao, was confirmed as Navy and after months of disorder under Hexet. In the Middle East, some 135 activists detained by Israel for taking part in a flotilla seeking to deliver aid to Gaza have arrived in Istanbul. Turkey's foreign ministry revealed that the activists were flown through a Turkish Airlines flight earlier in the afternoon. Israel has faced international condemnation after its military intercepted all of about 40 boats in a flotilla carrying aid to Gaza and detained more than 450 activists on Thursday. Ministry sources added that the individuals flown to Istanbul include 36 Turkish nationals as well as citizens from the United States, the United Arab Emirates, Algeria, Morocco, Kuwait, Libya, Malaysia, Mauritania, Switzerland, Tunisia, and Jordan. Italy's Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said 26 Italians were on board, with another 15 still held in Israel and set to be expelled next week, along with activists from other nations. Now talking sports. Following a virus which swept through his squad, Benfica manager Jose Mourinho will struggle with team selection against rivals FC Porto on Sunday, as several key players are believed to be down with illness. According to reports, Mourinho and some members of his coaching staff are even affected with symptoms. This comes after a 1-0 defeat to Chelsea in the Champions League in midweek. Mourinho, who recently revealed he had been suffering from a fever ahead of his return to Stamford Bridge, had dismissed the symptoms as a common flu, but current developments suggest a broader issue within the team environment. It was gathered that the affected individuals are dealing with headaches and body aches, prompting concern within the club's medical department right on the eve of the derby at the Estadio do Dragão. In tennis, German-Russian player Alexander Zverev has claimed that tournament organizers are deliberately slowing down courts to favor the world's top two, Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner. The current world number 2, in his on-court interview, voiced his displeasure with the way he felt the sport was heading over after he overcame an injury scare to beat Valentin Royer 6-4, 6-4 at the Shanghai Masters. Zverev had to be treated on court for a toe injury when serving for the match at 5-4 in the second set, but it did not halt his progress. According to Zverev, tennis needs different game styles and a little bit of variety, which he thinks the sport is lacking at the moment. Before we go, here again are the highlights. President Bola Tinubu arrives in Jos, the Plateau State capital, with the state government ordering temporary road closures in Jos and Bukuru metropolis to accommodate the presidential visit to ensure the safety of the president and facilitate a smooth visit. Ahead of the 2026 gubernatorial election, a former deputy governor of Osun State, Iyola Omisore, has announced his intention to contest the 2026 governorship election in Osun State under the platform of the All Progressives Congress.